this is Dr. Martina, your online sex therapist and sex educator. I remember the moment I was sitting in the Institute, the Sex Institute in San Francisco over 20 years ago, and I was directly asked by one of the teachers if I was sex positive. And I froze and I freaked and I really didn't know how to answer it because I actually thought he asked me if I've ever was diagnosed with a sexually transmitted disease. That is what I thought sex positive means. Now, of course, I was far away from the actual definition of sex positivity, which is a common definition that sex positive means that sex is good. Now, 20 years later, meaning in the moments of last week, I saw the perplexed look on this person's face when I told her that I was sex positive. And that motivated me to do this video to educate my followers and you what sex positivity means and what it offers. So what does sex positivity mean? As I mentioned earlier, the standard definition of sex positivity is that sex is good. Now, I suggest that we move away from that definition and that we define sex positivity as a positive relationship to sex. The first time I heard this suggested shift was over 20 years ago. I actually read it in the Electronic Journal of Human Sexuality right in the beginning of my ongoing education as a clinical sexologist. And it was written by Charlie Glickman. And it changed my life as a sexual being because the shift allowed me to acknowledge sex as neither good nor bad. Just like food is neither good nor bad. Charlie says that the awards and the benefits and the harm comes from what you do and how it affects you. And that is the same thing with food as it is with sex. Now, the other thing this shift of definition clarified for me is that sex is a subjective experience, and therefore it is to the individual what kind of relationship they get to have with sex. There's a lot of freedom in that, which we don't have when sex is good, because then obviously something is bad. So, and the third reason, the third prominent reason about this shift from this definition is that when we're talking about a relationship, we always talk about a place that there is room for improvement. And that is a good thing because our sexuality continuously changes. So we get to evolve along with it and get the best of our sexuality. Now, you may be able to change someone's life if you're coming into a conversation about sex positivity and someone asks you to define it, then you get to say sex positivity is a positive relationship with sex. So what does sex positivity offer? First of all, and I think the most important thing is sex positivity allows us to stop questioning our normality. Is this normal? And this is a question in regards to my client's behavior or their partner's behavior, and this is a question I hear all the time in practice. Let me tell you, normal sex in our society is a tiny part of the range of sexual expressions. And yet, I see the pain and the shame the individual goes through to squeeze themselves into this normality. In a sex-positive world, is this normal would lose its meaning because we would each be normal for ourselves. It is normal for me to like milk chocolate over dark chocolate, while for other people it's the other way around. It does not mean that I am normal. It means that me liking milk chocolate is normal for me. In a sex-positive world, it may be normal that one person it may be normal for one person to like intercourse over oral sex. And you would never, and in the sex positive world, you would never feel the need to justify that or the need to be supported in that. Sex positivity means that we don't have to be like anyone else. So the second thing sex positivity offers us, it lets us relax. A sex positive world allows us to move freely with our desires, with our expressions, if they're new or if they're familiar. And that is a wonderful gift sex positivity gives us, because there's enough pressure, performance anxiety, and all kinds of things that come along with sexual experiences that are naturally are not supposed to be there, because it's supposed to be free. We're supposed to feel positive about our sexuality, but we don't. So sex positivity gives us that relaxation. Now, I have to say there will be setbacks on this path, and there will be new habits and new skills that need to be learned. But I can promise you, once you do learn them, that you will feel more relaxed while you're having sex. And as I mentioned many times before, it can be learned. So the third thing sex positivity offers us, it offers us to get what we want by enabling us to try new things. And this is important as our bodies change. I'm making an analogy with food again. We don't eat the same food when we're 16 as when we're 20, in our 30s and in our 40s. You know, our liking for food, our appetite for food, for different things changes. And so does our liking and our desires for our sexuality. Why wouldn't it change the same way for our sexuality? Now, if you would have only one type of food for the rest of your life, always, that is dull, and you would get bored. And just like if you have sex only that one way our society allows us to have, you know, we get bored with sex. And that is a crime, I think. Sex negativity does not support sexual experimentation and or curiosity, and millions of people suffer needlessly as a result. So, freedom from the myth of normality, a desire to learn and experience more relaxation around sex, a more natural and realistic response to the ever-changing sexual needs that we have. These are all very good reasons to work towards the goal of sex positivity. But you have to be aware that there are as many more reasons to approach this goal or to work towards this goal as there are people who are willing to do so. But please be assured that there's one thing we all have in common, and that is that we are engaged in creating a relationship with our sexuality that is more positive than we already have. Now, if you need any help with any of these realizations about sex positivity, with your restrictions, please contact me. And next week, I'm going to introduce you to what we can do to create a more sex positive world. And I will see you next week.